I am a food technologist, and I started this study in those days. It was in the 60s. Uh, the everything I would say the Icelanders, they were living from fish. 80% of our export was fish, and it was always exported just as raw material. So I thought we can get something more out of this, and I was thinking of how to produce something as fish, which you could sell to Europe and get more money. That was what I was looking for when I was looking for what I should study. This has led me to think of food as not only as a nourishment, but also to fight against everything. You can keep certain diseases away. Uh, you can build you up with the right food, etc. And the second interest in my life is uh, how terrible, how the life of this earth is different, how difficult it is to feed all the people living on this globe, on this earth. And the third pole is this my fight for the right of the women. And this is all put together in this. The women have always been in charge for for food for the family. I'm thinking of this all everything. So I think this is something out of this mixture that I'm looking for. You know, nobody likes a potato raw. You have to do something with it. I know that there is a lot of what you need in seaweed, but you have to uh, do it in a way that the people will eat it. So this, I would say, everything is come together. What I studied, what I have been fighting for, and what I would like to live for. Something like this is connected. It sounds maybe an old woman is,
No,
is
no, not at all.
you know, it is. I have the feeling now that this has in this in my battle for the cultivation of seaweed, I have been able to combine everything I have been living for. I was asked, well, I have been participating in the what is called the organic sector in Iceland. Started the first organic office certifying organic in European style. And that was very important. I didn't, we have not gained much until now, maybe, but I have always been the nature, food, and the life of people. This is, I think, I have been asked, what do you think is most important you have been thinking of in your life, and I think seaweed. This is, I'm clicking in all boxes with seaweed. It's something like that.
Yeah.
But I know that I can't just cultivate seaweed and go on the street and say the best food in the world. I have to do something more. There is.
They're convinced. Absolutely. And are you optimistic about the future, about the direct? I know obviously there's the current.
I must be optimistic sometimes. Sometimes, especially now in this terrible situation. I become something very sad and think, why don't you give it up? You will reach anything in your lifetime, and this is too much to fight for. But I can't give it up. It is not possible. I was yesterday, it was a wonderful day. I went to the beach to try to find some stalls with all with the salmon in. and the weather was beautiful, and everything was starting to grow on the beach, and it was wind, but there was sun, and it was so fantastic to see this, and knowing that maybe sometimes this is gonna be something of us, helping somebody, building up something. As I told you, nobody is eating a raw potato, but everybody loves potatoes in different dishes. I think on the same way about seaweed. I am always eating seaweed. I'm polite, so I'm not eating it now. But here I have, for example, dried herbs. It has been eaten in Europe and in Iceland from the beginning of the population in Iceland, from the settlement. And now we are looking, this is only dried. And in earlier times, we ate this with butter, if the people had butter. And it was also, Iceland was always very poor was lacking carbohydrates. We didn't have any corn. So later on, people made bread. Out of 1/3 of this, they made it just crumbled this. 1/3 of Icelandic moss, which is so flaked, you have to pick it and dry it over winter, and 1/3 maybe corn. And this bread was fantastic, so the people could cover their need for carbohydrates in this way. And I forgot to tell you about also my interest in traditional food. That's also what has brought me into this, what I'm doing today. Well, maybe that was the door to seaweed, because I was so interested of how I was always asking myself, how did the housewives in earlier days, in the 13th, 14th, and 15th century, it was very cold in Iceland, nothing was growing, and there was no ship coming with corn or anything. What did the mothers do? And they learned everything about how they could use seaweed, and became very interested in that. We could do it as well today and use it even much more. When I came back from Germany, I studied in Germany. I didn't see any women in Iceland. They were all at home. They were not in the parliament. They were not at the university. They were not. They were working in the fishing industry everywhere, all over the country. But they were working there without agreements. So the factories could send them home if there were no fish. So they would just work and then call them back when they had fish. So it is in 1969, and we started to talk about this all over. When I came from Germany, you can imagine all the men dead, and what the women had to go and take over in Germany, at least in Eastern Germany. And I was, by the way, I was in Eastern Germany, in Eastern Berlin, because this study was at the Humboldt University, my study. And there women were everywhere. They were at the universities, they were driving the buses and the trains and everything. But in Iceland, you didn't see them. But there were also no kindergarten, nothing like that. So we started, I was alone, but there were also my friends, they were married, having a lot of children. And so we started to talk together, and it resulted with the march on the 1st of May in 1970, where we marched, we took place behind others in the 1st of May demonstration. And the trade union was not very fond of us, wanted the police to throw us out of the demonstration, but later on they learned their lesson and knew that we were working together with them, but it took time to get them to know that. And thereafter, we started with this Red Stockings movement. And I was working hard there until I went to UN in 1977. The first thing we were thinking of were the kindergarten. And we fight for kindergarten in every village in Iceland. And at that time, we could also get the trade unions to work with us. So, and we talked to all the communities, and it was number one, and the number two was a new abort law. And that was the most difficult thing I have done in my life. It was terribly difficult. We did not, well, we had, if we had not fought, we would not have had the law we got. It was not like that what we wanted, but it was much, it was a big change. And it was first now, last year, then 2 years ago, that we had a new law. It was really fantastic, the best in Europe. So I don't speak the States. It's terrible. These were also, but my favorite during this work in the Red Stockings movement was education. And I was working for the United Nations, and I'm still number one on my list. Women in the world, we have to educate them. Educated women, they will have fewer children, and they will educate and bring up the boys. That's what we need to change the world.
Yeah.
Well, I have been working in different women's unions and participating in different actions since then, but I think the Red Stocking women movement were the most important. And also what we from the Red Stocking movement, we started the first women's shelter in Iceland. And I'm still working with them. Well, now I don't do much more than that. I go to the General Assembly, and I'm always conducting the assembly. But that's also something I have been very, very, it meant a lot for me, important for me. And unfortunately, it is as important today as it was 1980 when we started. We have a very rich community just 4 kilometers from Reykjavik. People are the richest in Iceland. It is the only community in Iceland which never gave any money to the shelter. But the women came from this unit as well as from others. I mean, this is not a difference between poor and rich. We have the same problem. I guess this is something I have to thank my mother. My mother is born 1908. She was the youngest of 10, grew up in the countryside. Her father, a farmer, died when she was 4, and her mother, my grandmother, was not allowed to go on with the farm. She has to sell everything, and the children were just spread to other farmers and grew up with foreign people. My mother was 3 or 4, and she was the first year with her mother, but thereafter she was always just under people she didn't know, different people every year and things like that. And her first and only wish was that her children could get the opportunity to learn, to go to school, and to become to be able to utilize themselves. And I think this is something I have inherited from her. Mm. She was also very active in the fight under the trade unions, and as a young woman, and I think that has given me some power, knowing that she, in her situation, owning nothing, having no education, but that she could fight, could do something.